I play chess for 20 years. I'm a professional chess coach for 10 years, and today I want to share with you my strategy from start to finish, everything you need to know to play a great game of chess. If you're under 2000 ELO, you're gonna learn so much out of this video. So I'm gonna play as white this position. We have a roughly 2000 ELO opponent, so that would be a spectacular game. Yes, I played c4, not the opening that I show in a lot of openings, but c4 is also a reasonable move. It does not matter that much at this level which exact opening you play. I like the collie for white for this level because you can play it against pretty much anything, and it's a very flexible opening where you don't really need to learn a lot of theory. That's why that's what I recommend, what I teach in my opening course. But I also often play the move c4 because this is very active. You don't need to know a lot of stuff here. This is the drawback. Like here, black can play that, c6, c5, 97, a6, takes, and you need to know what to do against each and every single one of those moves. That's why I say, well, the collie system is so much simpler. But as I'm a little bit more professional, I can handle that. I can play here bishop to g5, bishop f4, and e3. Let me play e3. This is also a rather simple system where you don't need to learn that much. Okay, now he plays the move bishop b4. Let me play queen c2. Why not? Very flexible choice. Let's say I want to play a3. Okay, he actually takes voluntarily. I don't like that. Like, why would you... Yeah, okay, you want to bring the knight to e4, but why would you voluntarily do that, not even waiting for the move a3? Maybe the reason is queen a5. By the way, I could have taken with the pawn. Why didn't I take with the pawn? I mean, it's not a big deal. Queen a5, I have knight d2, but I guess that was the simplest thing I could have done. Knight a6 is something I don't like. Okay, my opponent is distracting me with these weird moves. He's like attacking from the very beginning, but what I want to show in this game is basically how I handle the game, how I approach the opening, the middle game, because you need to shift your mindset so much from one stage of the game to the next one, and how I handle the opponent's threats, because I argue this is the main mistake that all of the players under 2000 ELO are making. 99% of you are guilty of this mistake, and I want you to use it much better. Like, every time your opponent is making a move, try to understand what is the idea. Sometimes it's obvious, like he plays knight a6, the only way to go forward is knight to b4. Sometimes it's much less obvious, so you really have to think about it. So, and then whenever you understand what is the idea, the next question you ask whether it's dangerous for you. Knight b4 itself might not be a big of a problem. I just play queen a4 and all is fine. I can play a3 next move and get rid of that knight here. But in a combination with queen a5, that would be very annoying. I cannot play bishop d3 because of knight b4, and then it would be very annoying. So overall, I don't like my opponent to have this opportunity. That is why I play a3 and I just cover that square. Oops. So he cannot do it. And the knight on h6, it's just a stupid piece now. It has no prospects, like zero ideas. Maybe the only one is still to play queen a5, and after knight d2 to play knight b4, thanks to the fact that this is a pin. But it's just for one move. I'm gonna play queen b3, attack that knight, and you're in trouble again. He does go for it. I like the move knight d2. Why not bishop to d2? Because I love to play with a pair of bishops. Having two bishops advantage has helped me to win millions of games in my own career, and I really don't recommend you exchange the bishop for a knight without a very, very good reason. Some players are arguing with that and don't agree with me, that's fine, but I personally love the bishop so much. I would argue in most of the cases it's much stronger. Of course, there are exceptions, chess is tough, but in most of the cases, bishop is stronger than the knight. Okay, as I mentioned before, I don't really understand what is his idea, because this knight is hanging now. Like, what do you do? Yes, you can play c5, so that you don't need to miserably go away. But sooner or later, you will need to go away, and then you're just losing time. For example, after c5, I'm thinking about the move f3. You never want to take, because then you're basically losing your knight due to the pin. And if you are going back somewhere, I'm gonna just... Maybe it's not that simple. Maybe he still He's still doing more or less fine, but he does lose a lot of time. And remember that time is the most important resource in chess. And now he's just going back and forth. This is a huge mistake that so many players under 2000 are guilty of. And I hope you don't do it in your games. If you do, please stop it once and forever. Always think if you're going forward somewhere, can your opponent attack you? And then is there something else apart from just going back? Because if that's the case, then please never ever do that. You're gonna suffer a lot because of that. Okay, for me, in the opening, my main goal is to develop all of my pieces. I have 3 goals. I want to fight for the center. I have done it from the very first move. I want to bring every single one of my pieces into the game, and I want to make sure that my king is secure. For example, my opponent has a huge problem strategically with this bishop on c8. In many openings like that, when black plays d5, a6, c6, this is the main weakness, but here I don't even see a prospect for him. Like, how do you get rid of it? That is the reason why I want to play this move c5, honestly, because I win so much time. Also, where the knight is going. Here to b5, but like, it's so weirdly placed. Here to f5, it's also weirdly placed. Maybe I can even play g4 and attack it further. Not sure. Or maybe I just step back with the queen, play b4, because I want to make sure that I control all of the space. And then I can bring my bishop to b2 as well. I'm not sure. Alternatively, I can just ignore all of that. He plays, takes, I take it back. He takes, I take. He plays b5. He's only going to be vulnerable there. I mean, if I castle, of course, there is a pin right now, but I can't castle. And then I'm going to have 2 pawns in the center. Yeah, let's do that, because I want to illustrate that under 2000, you don't need to like reinvent the wheel. You just need to make normal moves, achieve all of those goals, and the most important, the difference between you being on your level and making a huge improvement in chess, a giant step towards the next level, is focusing on your opponent's counterplay. Because this position, for example, take this one. I'm doing great here. If I'm going to be careful with my opponent's threats, I'm going to easily win it. If, however, I'm going to carelessly think about it, like, yeah, whatever I do, I'm going to win it, and not paying enough attention about what my opponent can achieve, then I'm going to get into big trouble. Okay, he actually does it smarter a little bit. He castles and doesn't take, so that I'm not sure what to do with my pieces. Although I have the move e4. And then whichever pawn he takes, I take with the knight. And I control the center. I have a pair of bishops. Yeah, if you have a pair of bishops, you want to use it to your advantage. You want to open up the position. Bishops love open positions. Then they can control those diagonal. They can become monsters. If the position is completely closed, on the other hand, that would be your exception, where the knight might be even stronger than the bishop. But here it's clearly not the case. Like, look at this diagonal. Look at this bishop, who has a huge potential now. Probably I'm going to go to e3 and defend it against those threats. Yeah, now after move f5, I would rather want to attack, because he has tremendous weaknesses. This bishop on c8 is just a horrible piece. Where do I put my bishop? Probably here, because d5 is now on my agenda. Potentially, I mean, once I'm ready for it. And the bishop on f3 is controlling a lot. And since he closed the diagonal, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to be here. Now, I don't want to play d5 just yet, because he's going to play e5 and then e4. I would like to stop him from doing that and then play the move d5. Like, ideally bringing both of my rooks here. But first of all, I cannot play rook e1. Always be careful with your opponent's responses. Secondly, my pawn is hanging here, which is important, because if I play rook d1, he can actually take it anyway. And after takes, he has queen e1 checkmate. Remember what I have told you about the opponent's counterplay. This is a perfect example for it. Strategically, my position is completely winning, but you sleep for 1 second and you are getting into big trouble. So the question is, how do I deal with it? Bishop e3 would be a natural response. He can, however, play f4, but I don't think it's a problem. You end up, like, I'm going to take, he's going to take, but this pawn is horrible, this bishop is horrible, this is not allowing him to develop anything. So even though I'm going to lose this central pawn, it actually is going to open up the D file. I'm going to finish my development. I'm going to create threads for his king because he has opened his key involuntarily, which is usually not what you want to do. Okay, he goes to h6 instead, which, yeah, just allows me to develop the pieces. Maybe he wants to play g5, but like with such a king, that is way too vulnerable. I cannot believe it can work for him. So I'm gonna allow that. I mean, I could have played h4 to stop, but I don't see it as a threat. That is also something you always want to do. Whenever your opponent makes a move, you think, okay, what is the idea? Maybe you have figured out the idea is to play g5. But the next question, very important. Most of the players just forget about it, and that is why they lose at chess. Is it really dangerous for you? If it is, yes, you should do something about it. But if it doesn't, then please don't waste your time and rather do something useful for yourself. Okay, he plays queen b6. Of course, he would be happy to exchange the queens, but I'm not. I want to crush him. I'm not sure where I should step. I like queen a2 because I still control the diagonal. In terms of playing d5, that makes a lot of sense. But queen c2 is also a very, very normal move. He still might play the move f4 from this perspective because he attacks again. Although, not really. Like f4 takes, I'm gonna play bishop e3 and there will be a nasty pin. Yeah, still I feel like queen c2 is a little bit more natural. We are gonna make natural moves here without going into any madness, because I would argue it's enough to beat anyone under 2000 ELO. If you are just doing, first of all, you achieve the opening goals, then you have a strategic goal for the middle game, and you make sure you take a look at your opponent's threats. That's enough to beat everyone. Literally, let me show you how I do that. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect, doesn't mean that I make all of the best moves, but I have my strategic idea. How do you understand what is your middle game plan? So many players struggle with that. Well, you have to take a look at your strong sides of your position and your opponent's weaknesses, and ideally you should combine both of them. For example, if my strong side is my pair of bishops, my better development, better control of the center, my opponent's main weakness is also his pieces development. Those are horrible pieces, but also the skin is completely naked and he doesn't have any defenders, so once I can somehow get to it, he's in big trouble. Ideally, I should combine all of that into one plan, how I might attack him. Like f4 is not an idea, first of all. Again, always think whether it's really a threat, because I'm gonna just destroy him there. So maybe I just play b4 for now and get even more space, or rook e1, developing a new piece. I like b4. So every single move you make, you should either make to help you achieve your goal, or to stop your opponent's. He's actually going for it. I mean, this is incredible. He opens up the position. He opens up his own king in a situation where he doesn't have any development and he's fighting against two bishops. This is a suicide. He's a real kamikaze here. And I'm also just taking this pawn with a check. Like, what on earth are you doing? And I can even bring my bishop on h5. I mean, this is this is literally what happens so often when you just consistently are playing for your plan. Notice I haven't made any weird moves in this game, and I haven't made any like very complicated. Yeah, he resigns not even waiting for me to make a move. So this is the perfect strategy that helps you outplay anyone under 2000 ELO. I hope it was useful for you. And in this game, I show you the only opening you ever need to beat everyone under 2000 ELO as black.